turn the world upside down. We're gonna turn these people right side up. We're gonna shout until we're 6 feet over. We're gonna demonstrate something unusual. Come on! Something unusual.
Vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Code Breakers Live. I hope you had a good time at church today, and I'm so glad that you joined us. I have the Alphavets, Israel and Chris, are with me today, and I'm about to bring them on. Let me just say hi to some of you guys quickly before I do that, because I'm seeing so many people hopping in here from Missouri and Franklin, Virginia. I'm in Franklin, Tennessee. Oh, Strumming. Hi, Strumming. Glad to see you back over there in Rumble. I see so many people. Oh, my goodness. Jackson, Mississippi, Richmond, Virginia, Long Island, New York, Cape May. Oh, I'm glad to see you guys with the Israel is Forever in there. And then, of course, we have the House of Destiny chats open too. And we are on X as well. So I'm so glad. Karen from Florida. Hi there. More Missouri, North Carolina, Texas, Ohio, the Netherlands. Ooh, love it when I get my international friends because surely my dad has been all over the world. So you'll often find many people from all over the world joining us. So I love Guatemala. Oh, good heavens. Indiana, Baltimore, Maryland, Oregon, Australia. Down under, you're joining us. Wonderful. Tallahassee, Florida, Lexington, Kentucky, a lot of Florida, Denver. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you joined us today. Okay, so the Alphavets are joining me. If you don't know who they are, the Alphavets, they have their own channel on Rumble, and you do need to go and check them out. We'll definitely give you the information if you've never seen them before. Many of you already know. But their mission is to be a trusted source of insight on war, politics, and prophecy, drawing from their experiences as Marine Corps and Air Force veterans. They prioritize faith over fear and use their platform to promote the Word of God while engaging in open discussions about current events and prophecy. And that is exactly what we do here at the House of Destiny Network too. Of course, my mom covers a lot of stuff on current events, especially in regards to biblical prophecy. Oh, I see you guys there on the HOD chat. Hi there, everybody there. Lovely to see Anchorage, Alaska. I love Alaska. I think it's beautiful there. So let's go ahead and bring in Israel and Chris from the Alphavets, and we're going to talk prophecy today. Huntsville, Alabama. Oh, yes. There are people in the comments there. They love you guys. I'm seeing that. And Arkansas and Arizona. Oh, my goodness. Well, welcome, you guys. I'm so glad to have you back. Boy, did we have a strange July.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
I keep trying to make lists of things that happen, and it just I get lost because it was everything from the debates, and then Biden just disappeared, and they stuck Kamala in, and recently Christy Desfontaine does our Israel Update channel, and we've been we've taken over the Saturday broadcast that my mom normally does. And wow, we have it's been incredible. We reviewed the February 22nd, 2014 prophecy, and where he prophesied about the witch in the White House. We realized right before that, he said, California, I'm looking at you. And, we had already always assumed it was Hillary. I do believe that still is Hillary. I think he's referring to a spiritual element of things
Right.
when saying that. But the fact that Kamala Harris is from California, that's her place. The witch in the White House prophecy has become a little more prevalent right now, especially because he said the enemy will do everything in his power to put a witch in the White House. And so that means in 2016, everything in their power, they tried to put Hillary in. And once again, we find ourselves in this position where they're trying with Kamala. And so obviously that spirit is lingering around and causing trouble. But thanks to prophecy, and thanks to my dad and his obedience, and thanks to God for informing us beforehand, we were and are prepared. And so,
Absolutely.
as crazy and unsettling as this all has been, we do see a lot of hope in this moment. And because we know what happened in 2016, God likes to show up and show off, and he certainly appears to be doing that now, especially once we saw the volcanic eruption. And I just saw last night that I think in Russia
Mm-hmm.
there was an earthquake?
It's volcano. Yeah. Volcano
Earthquake,
triggered.
then a volcano, yeah,
Yeah.
or our volcano earthquake. One of the I can't remember.
Earthquake
which order.
volcano.
That's so interesting that it was in Russia because of how much he prophesied about Putin and Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, well, I guess maybe that would be a question I have for you guys. What are your thoughts and feelings on Ukraine and Russia and Putin?
We were actually just briefly discussing this morning with each other about Russia, because obviously your father, he prophesied so much about Russia and especially Ukraine, and the joy that was going to be brought from the ashes of what was taking place. But Russia, also when your dad said he's seen Putin and four others, above the table.
Mm.
So like it looks like he was describing the BRICS nations, but at the same time, like you see, theories and stuff like this come out about how Trump has been potentially working with these nations behind the scenes, especially in his first term. So it brings a lot of questions because of what your dad has prophesied about, and because of Putin becoming a little unhinged a little bit. And I have a lot of questions. But I do think that the whole Russia-Ukraine thing is basically a operation to rid a lot of the deep state within the other nations, especially Ukraine, because they're deep state hub that they've operated out of. But there is a lot of questions about surrounding Putin. So, yeah.
I have to say with Putin, the way I kind of feel about it is I think a lot of that anger that was coming through my dad to Putin is probably got more to do with what he's going to do than anything he has done yet. And
Right.
so I've even sort of said to people, we're worried about what Putin is going to do, not anything or not much that he's done or that we know of yet. Because of course you see Putin out there and he's saying things that we're agreeing with him. But another, the way you handle, the trans situation and the child trafficking and all those kind of things. However, I do think that something should be noted that whenever my dad was prophesying, he was always prophesying in relation to Israel and what was going on with Israel. And we do see that right now Putin is siding with Iran and being more pro-Palestine, even though traditionally he's against a persecution of Jews, and of course his experience with World War II and the Holocaust and all that. But it appears that he's aligned himself with particularly Iran, and that's something else Dad prophesied quite a bit about. at one point, it was in 2014, he said Russia will join its hands with Iran and
Hmm.
I think Syria. And that was the prophecy where he was shouting, "You know nothing, you know nothing, you know nothing." And he also talked about the Malaysian jet in that prophecy. This was March 20th, 2014, I think. Which is, that whole prophecy is another one of those eerie, because he just kept shouting, "You know nothing. You're not even supposed to know."
Right.
And I know you guys have interviewed Ashton Forbes, who has the Malaysian jet video, which I think, how prophetic of my dad just to have picked up on that particular plane crash. I mean, it could have been any plane crash, but he started prophesying about the Malaysian jet. And in this year of 2024, we see that story has popped up randomly through Ashton. And he's
Hmm.
got this video, and it's showing this technology that we are not supposed to have, that we don't understand. And so then I remember Dad saying, "You know nothing, you know nothing, you know nothing. You think you know, but you don't. And this Malaysian jet, what you think you know about it, you don't understand," basically, is sort of in a nutshell what he was saying. I'm not quoting him. So I find that to be another thing in this year, even in this summer, that's quite interesting. Um, just that it's there. I mean, I don't know much about it, but the interesting thing also to me is in regards to energy, and how Ashton Forbes keeps talking about energy, 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 free energy. And Dad prophesied about the big E for years, this new energy source. And he talked about volcanoes and earthquakes. So there we go again with that in this year as well.
Hmm.
And the volcanoes and the earthquakes were happening, and it wouldn't be so much about destruction as far as loss of life and things like that, as it would be about the earth will yield of its produce. And in that happening, this new energy would be discovered, and new discoveries would be made that would actually, what was interesting is he said, uncover what had been covered in regards to cures for cancer, neurological disorders, autism, Alzheimer's, diseases like that, that there would be healing for these diseases, and that it had been covered up. So right now we're sitting with a lot of little pieces that seem like they could go together, but we haven't quite got there in time yet. And
Hmm.
so when looking at prophecy, this is where it gets interesting. A lot of people will say, "Oh, well, he didn't know, and he was a false prophet, or he was wrong. Just forget it." But I've found in my own experience that to be patient and sort of see it through and pray it through too, because God will reveal to us what we need to know when we need to know it. And so that's kind of where I am when it comes to the energy thing. But it's so interesting that we've got the volcanoes, we've got the earthquakes, we've got the Malaysian jet thing, and the whole energy thing that's happening. And then you see everything happening around the world, as well as, Strange July was insane. I mean, even the Olympics, the way we saw, and I remember him prophesying about that too, because he said, he was prophesying about the UN being a stench to God's nostrils. And in the middle of that, it was so weird. And he said, "Unto France for the disgusting thing that you have done." And I remember at the time thinking, well, what did they do in France that my dad was saying was so disgusting? And now I think I understand that he was seeing where this would go. And then, of course, you get into the immigration thing, and that's all tied together. And one thing he told me for years and years is when he created Code Breakers, that it would be like a tapestry being woven together, and that ultimately we would be able to look at it and see an image or a picture. And so that's what we're doing here every Sunday, and every day. The House of Destiny. Now I can't even keep up. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on any of that. I just kind of wanted to throw out to you what I'm looking at right now, because I'm not quite sure about
Yeah,
some of it, and I'm sure you guys have some insight on some of it. Maybe.
yeah. I mean, when it comes to like the energy and everything like that, like we've talked with Ashton, we talked about like everything to do with like Malaysian Airline 370 and everything. But like this energy, I think my dad told me a while ago. It's kind of just something that clicked to me. That how many times have things been ushered in? Usually, where does it usually come from? It usually comes from some type of turmoil, and like for this energy that's been prophesied and coming forth. I believe I'm not trying to like, tell people it's not fear mongering or anything, but you can see the state of the nation, you can see the chaos, you can see everything, and what it's kind of leading up to, this climactic point. And it seems like that energy is going to come from the basically the crumbling of this old system, or this current system that has been failing for so long. And in order to usher in something so massive, we have to go through this great awakening. We have to go through this spiritual awakening, and it's all leading up to ushering in the new. But in order to usher in the new, we got to make sure that the old is put to sleep, because how are we going to enter into this new type of kingdom if we're living by our old ways? And just getting our minds wrapped around this is why I believe God is going to do something so shocking, because you think about this energy prophecy, and it seems to your average person like it's something that would never be achieved. And we hear about it, we hear all the stuff about it, and what could be. We know that we've had the technology for 80 plus years. Like Tesla had everything, and everything got canned. So this is what they do. They went the other way of making money off of it instead of allowing free energy and everything like that. So in order to bring this stuff down, I think it's going to come from just like kind of how your dad prophesied about Ukraine. Out of the ashes comes the beauty and the joy. And I kind of feel like that's the same concept of what we're seeing through all the nations of the earth, including America being the forefront, and Israel, of course.
Right. Yes. And Chris, what do you think?
I'm with him on that one. I think. I mean, we talk about this stuff all the time. I think that definitely out of the ashes will come beauty, and that when there is turmoil, that's when all of this stuff. That's when God does His best. Is out of all of this turmoil. And why do we see the turmoil? Because, well, the ones who have had dominion over this world, they don't like when they're about to lose. So that's why you see all this chaos. That's why we're seeing all these things now. And, is about an hour ago, we both were like, it's going to take something absolutely miraculous to turn all of this around. And, when your dad said they would be shocked at how he takes the giant down, I think we're all, even those of us who think we're in the know, who think, but I think we're all going to be shocked, because, our ways are not His ways and our thoughts are not His thoughts. And we can think about this, 7 ways from Sunday, but until it actually happens, I think we're all going to be definitely going to be shocked at how all this unfolds.
Absolutely. And what Dad always used to say, God loves to show up and show off. And so
Yes,
there is something approaching. I think we can all feel it. I think people are afraid of, for instance, nuclear war. We're afraid of that, especially if you see who's supposed to be our president right now. I mean, we haven't seen Biden very much since, he just kind of disappeared, and there's Kamala, and Kamala saying, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's like, well, you're already the vice president. You could just do it. I keep commenting every time I see a Kamala post. I'm like, but you can do it now, Kamala.
Right.
Yeah,
or
right.
I'm going to fix everything that I messed up over the last 4 years. Like, doesn't make sense.
But you know what? If you go back to the last time you guys were here and what has happened since then, it's been so shocking and so unexpected. I mean, we were all on the Biden, not expecting any of that happened to happen. And then here we are, and the whole situation is different. And now we're approaching the DNC convention. And of course, my dad had the Hyatt Regency prophecy. And what I find weird is I haven't seen much about the DNC convention. Like, they don't seem to be talking about it very much, except for I'm hearing here and there that the pro-Palestinian people are not happy, and they're sort of heading towards Chicago. And an interesting thing that happened just last week, I was with Amanda Grace, and she had a dream. I think I can talk about it now because I think she's talked about it publicly, but she had a dream, and in the dream, she didn't know where she was, I don't believe, but she saw a man in sort of tactical gear, and he had a mask on, and he was approaching what looked like a hotel to her on water, and he had a weapon, and she described the weapon to my husband because she didn't know what she was seeing, and she said she saw like a rifle, and on it was a round like disc thing, big and round around it. So my husband was saying to her, well, it could be a grenade launcher, or it could be somehow, now I've forgotten what he said. You guys would
like
know.
a drum, like a drum.
Yeah, a drum magazine.
So she saw that, and then her and I were together. It was after we were at the in Arkansas at the George Magazine event, and we were staying in the same hotel. And I went to her. Her and I were sitting in the room eating cake and drinking milk and talking about prophecy. It was awesome. But she shared with me about this, and I said, well, my dad had this prophecy about the Hyatt Regency and the DNC convention in Chicago, and the DNC convention is going to be in Chicago. What, tomorrow it starts?
Yes.
Eek. So it starts tomorrow, and when we looked up the picture of the hotels, because it's a Hyatt Regency and another hotel together, I think, with a convention center.
Marriott.
Yeah, and there's water off the hotel, and what she had seen was the water and this man approaching with this kind of strange weapon that she didn't know. And like her and I both, we don't know anything about it. You know, we're pro-gun, but we don't actually use them. We leave that to our husbands. The men can do that. My poor husband tries to show me. I mean, at least at least now there's some basic things I know. Like, I know not to wave the gun around. Got to point it down.
That's a good start.
That's how inexperienced we are. But I thought it quite interesting, because when you start to, and I know you guys must understand this too, when you start to talk to one more prophet than another prophet and another prophet, and they're seeing the same kind of thing but from different angles, it's, number one, it's confirmation. But also I am concerned. And when I first had a look at that Hyatt Regency prophecy again a few months back, I immediately realized the potential of what that could mean. He saw not being in like not at 9/11 scale, but it was a terrorist attack. He saw himself being on the 10th, or I think the 9th or 10th floor.
9th or 10th, yeah.
9th or 10th floor. And he knew he wasn't going to be there, actually really be there, but he was viewing it as if he was in the building, and it started to crumble around him. And he was afraid in the vision. And so, you know, I immediately had everybody pray for them, because Democrat or not, they're Americans, and you know,
Right.
we'd rather save them and save their souls and help them see the truth. We don't want harm to come to anybody, even Kamala. We want her delivered. So I immediately told everybody to pray for them, and I'm still encouraging everybody. We do not wish anything bad to happen to them. But when my dad prophesied that, he did say this would happen to those who had been unrighteous.
He did. It. Could I run through these three?
Yeah,
These
go.
things
Yes.
just kind of tie into
Do it is
what we were talking about.
Come on, let's go.
So, obviously, if you guys have watched Donna or even our show, you guys know about the Hyatt Regency prophecy, and I know Donna has explained it many times. But you know, as me, who I like to just look at other Kim prophecies and kind of see if some are tied into others, and I came across 3 different prophecies, and one being the main one, the Hyatt Regency. But if you go to the earlier dates, before the 2015 Hyatt Regency prophecy, he had one 2011, 2014. And in the 2011 one, he says there's this grand plan of 9/11 type thing. These are 3 prophecies that talk about this 9/11 attempt of attack. And it says God is showing and revealing and making it known that this will not succeed. There will be attempts. He's talking about this grand plan of a 9/11 style thing. He says, today we saw the unfolding of this prophetic word beginning now, August, they are attempting. So he said that in August 18th, 2011, which is actually today's date, if you want to think about it, the day before
It is.
but the day before the DNC convention. So that's interesting in itself, right? It gets even better. It gets even better because Now, if you go, let's just go to the 2015 main Hyatt Regency prophecy where you just talked about. He was on the ninth or 10th floor. He saw it crumbling down. And what's interesting about it, he's at the end of the prophecy says, "I call for that man again, that noble president to come back." So he says he calls for him again. So meaning after first term, before second. So that would kind of point to the same time right now. But he also said it was the Hyatt Regency in Chicago, which you all know that is the DNC headquarters, hotel headquarters for this convention starting tomorrow, along with the Marriott. So, but if you back it up to the other one that talks about the 9/11 style attack was September 6th of 2014. And the September 6th one, he's talking about basically the all this terror and everything is knocking at our door and everything. But what he says, no 9/11 attempt shall be to their satisfaction, says the Lord. No, but watch Chicago and watch Michigan. So he says it again, watch Chicago about this 9/11 style attack. But he also says Michigan. He also says Michigan, when I was kind of looking around. And if you look at in Chicago, the Marriott and the Hyatt Regency, there are two Hyatt Regency hotels off of this road, but it is in Chicago, right off of Michigan Avenue.
Eek. Oh my goodness.
I came across that this morning and I was like, holy buckets.
Exactly, because that's pretty remarkable, the accuracy of that. But then it's also quite concerning because, again, they've been so weird about the DNC convention. I mean, I'm sure it's because they've put Camilla, I keep wanting to call her Kamala in. They put Kamala in sort of at the last minute. And I'm sure they had a big plan for their convention with Biden, and now they've had to change things. So maybe that's it. But it does seem it does seem a little weird to me. Now, I find that encouraging, though, that Dad was seeing that it wouldn't be to their satisfaction. And I'm really praying for the protection of everybody, even if they're Democrats. They're still Americans, and there's, again, our goal is supposed to be to save people. We don't wish harm on anybody. And so I'm always cautious about talking this because I don't want people to think we're like, oh, yay, he saw a terrorist attack at the DNC convention. We want to make sure people understand that we don't want harm to come to anybody, even if they're corrupt politicians. We'd rather them be dealt with through the law and the way it's supposed to be dealt with instead of like this. And we do see the world over this invasion of Islam into the West. And this is something else he prophesied about a lot. He actually didn't even he called it Baal Allah because he saw the coupling of this, not even the coupling, it's the spirit that's driving these extremists coming from a corrupted religion like Islam. That extremism is very strong right now and gripped the West. And then you see like World Economic Forum, people like that, it's all kind of aligning with their goals. So then Dad saw the Fourth Reich and the fall of the Fourth Reich and that whole thing. And, if you go back and you think about, after World War II and the Nazis that were brought into America, particularly the CIA, they were helping with things where they should have been taken care of and they weren't. Dad actually spoke about how it was something that had not been dealt with that would be dealt with. So there's a lot of levels to this that are extremely concerning. But at the same time, we have a lot of hope here. And like you were saying, it looks scary, but God, and it is going to take probably a few little miracles, but God has promised us that he's going to come through for us. And so I feel nervous, and I know I'm speaking for a lot of people right now. I'm feeling nervous and uncertain, especially when you start to think about nuclear stuff. And that was something I was going to bring up in a little bit to you guys because of something he saw in regards to nuclear because he a few times saw the threat of nuclear war, and that people didn't want it, but they wouldn't have the wisdom to avoid it. He even saw certain states and prayed against them, saying, "You will not strike at them." And I think it was, Florida, Mississippi, the Rocky Mountain area. He actually was in the middle of praying and saw that. And so there's a lot of, I don't want to even say uncertainty. People are nervous and sort of on edge. And so the good side of this, it's like we're talking about terrorist attacks and Islamic invasion and nuclear war. And the thing that is always shining through in these prophecies is that it's not going to work. And God is in control of this situation. And just like we saw so many surprises in July, and things have changed so much just since the month of July, that, good or bad, we don't know how. It's like we have the little bits and pieces that God showed my dad, but we don't know everything that's going to happen and how it's going to come about. So there's this lingering, everybody on edge. And I really just hope to kind of ease that in people today. And so this is something I wanted to just try to make sure we don't come out of this feeling afraid, because the one thing my dad said is you cannot fear. If you fear, your enemy will know it. So we have to be bold, and it's requiring a lot of faith. And
Agreed.
Dad said, darkness faith grows and despair faith grows. We understand about faith, but it is really in this time, a lot of us have just been pushed all the way to the edge of everything, and we see that, it's not that abnormal. When you have change, you have great change. Dad saw the changing of the guard. We've witnessed that changing of the guard.
Mhm.
We've seen the Saul spirit, that was the King Saul spirit that was over Obama, and a generation who wishes not to put on the armor of Saul. And you see him speaking about King David and the spirit of King David, and it resting on Trump and the one who will be after Trump, which I don't talk about that often, because really people need to focus on Trump right now. But there is one who will continue this movement as well. And there is hope because of the discoveries that will be found for cures for diseases. These are all hopeful things. So, ultimately, I don't think we're going to be nuked. I don't think
No.
there's going to be nuclear war. I think it's a danger, but I don't think we are. And I think that there is the presence of great evil, but there's also the presence of good and hope in all of this. And so anyway, that was just a thought. I just wanted to
Yeah,
make
like
sure.
your dad said, there's two spirits: the spirit of Judas,
Yeah.
and the spirit of Joseph,
Read my mind.
standing together.
Yes.
And that was another thing me and Chris have talked about in regard to, especially like this Hyatt Regency stuff and the DNC. Obviously, we don't, just like you said, we don't hope for death or any of that. Like, that's the last thing we want. But after the assassination attempt on Trump,
Yeah.
it is not wild to watch the CIA or these three-letter agencies try to capitalize off of something like that. And if they use an event at the DNC, that could be what
Mhm.
your dad's seen, they could use this as a event to, blame a Trump supporter, blame somebody,
That's
and
exactly what I've been worried about.
and
Yes.
basically twist it to create a narrative. And even if there was death, which we rebuke, but if there was, then they would, who knows what they could do to try and make sure that maybe elections don't happen.
Right.
And it turns
Mhm.
into this whole thing. Like, if there was an event in the next 3 days, it would change the whole landscape of the next 3 months.
Yes, it would. You see me going, yes, it would. Because it's, again, it's this anticipation, and I'm not fearful at all. I think I just feel like a lot of people do, and just that you don't know what's coming next. And so it is important that we have these little lights of prophecy to say, okay, that's a stamp, that's a stamp, that's a stamp. Like, God's not going to tell us everything, obviously, but these are things you're moving toward, and it's a reminder also that He's there and in control of this. Like, like Dad prophesied, he has a plan.
Mhm.
And that plan is so brilliant, it could only have come from him. So there's also the excitement of how is he going to handle this? Because so far it's been pretty wild. I mean, seeing Biden in the debates and it being exposed, what we'd all been saying, what they called as conspiracy theories, and said, oh, they're just making these videos look like and then within days it just switched and changed. I think that was a good thing too, because a lot of people on the other side, a lot of people on the left, have been woken up by that as well, because then it's the realization that the media is lying and they're telling us on the right, I'm just using left and right because it's easy, that we're being lied to and we're calling them conspiracy theories. But when you're proven wrong time and time again, it will it ignites an anger. I mean, I know if I've been lied to, it makes me mad. Like I find I'm more, for instance, a lot of these famous people that have acted a fool. And back in the, we're all 90s kids. You know, a lot of these musicians and actors and things, we admired them and we liked them. And then for them, like Robert De Niro, for instance, people like that, like they come out and they're just, and you find out the corruption these people were involved in. And then you go over to the political side, and let's say you've gotten to arguments with your family, and you've destroyed relationships, and you've argued and argued and argued, and it comes out that they were lying. That will ignite in people, I think, a stronger emotion to, I've been lied to by you, so I'm really mad at you, like more so than the person I didn't really care about. And so I think a lot of that has been going on as well. But we do have some prophecies. I'm going to forget about the prophecies. Okay, I think, which one should we play first? Should we do, I want to have a look at this one from 2011, because I actually haven't seen the video. I was reading the transcript and Lou pulled it up for me, but I haven't watched the video. So why don't we play that one first? It's top of the list there, Lou. Here he goes.
Seeing this whole course, I'm seeing God doing it right now, where it's the source of energy is very important for people who are listening all over the world. And I had 2 clues, which I'm going to give you one today. Okay? I'm going to give you one clue now, which I haven't spoken of yet. You ready, Mr. Codebreaker?
Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Because I'm the code maker. And then the other one is the tree, the oak tree, which is a symbol which people have been researching, not yet revealed. But people are researching out there because it's a puzzle. God won't give us everything because it's not the right time. But something starting with an X and it has a P in it is a very profound something that's going to be worth investing in. And I can't say the whole thing because I don't know it. But I had a dream and I saw an X, and I think there may have been a number and something else, and then P. Now, I'm only giving you what I prophetically hear. Otherwise, I could be accused of representing a company, which, of course, they could take me to court on that, but I'm not going to, that's what I'm hearing, and most people know I hear things by the Holy Spirit, and I just say it. And so it's a prophetic thing, this. But it's also giving signs to the people that it's the time.
Yes.
For the release of this new source of energy. Now.
Yeah, I was going to say you can stop it there. So how interesting. Okay, a couple of things I thought of was obviously there's the platform X, but he saw X with a something in the middle and a P. Now I know there's an XRP.
Yeah.
What's up with
Sure.
XRP? I forgot.
So, well, it's a crypto-based thing, but there's a lot of things happening with XRP right now. And Chris, go ahead. What did they just announce the other day?
The Swiss, was it Swiss Bank said they were going to start allowing people to purchase gold with XRP.
Yep.
And XRP they just settled with the SEC. They've been tied up in a court case for years with the SEC, and just recently all of this stuff is starting to be unleashed. I'm just kind of learning about it myself, so it's pretty exciting, and I've never heard that one before. And as soon as he said those 2, I texted his while I was like, "Is he talking about XRP?" Because that's
Donnie. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen so many Kim stuff. I've never seen that clip before in my life.
No.
And soon
I
as he said
just
that, my
found it.
jaw
That's
dropped.
why I didn't have the video up or anything. I found it, and because I was looking up stuff about the oak tree prophecy.
Yeah.
Because the other day while Trump was speaking, someone made a comment, and then someone else tagged me in it on X, and the person said, "I'm waiting for Trump to bring up oak tree," and then I think it was Crazy German Lady. I don't know her real name. Crazy German Lady on X. She's great. She's always sending me stuff. She sent that to me, the transcript, and I didn't see it right away. And then afterwards, I saw it. And I thought, oak tree, and then he's talking about an investment, and it's connected with healing. And then he sees X, and immediately I thought, oh, he's seeing the platform X, which would have been cool. But then when he goes on to the something in the middle and the P, I first thought of XRP too, because I do know a little bit about cryptocurrency thanks to my husband, who has educated me on it. I remember when I found out about Bitcoin for the first time, I was like, but what is it? I couldn't understand. What is it?
So
So
there's obviously a lot of like Chris just said, they just got out of this massive lawsuit, or this whole thing with the SEC and everything like that. So that's settled. And you also heard about people talking about over the years about how XRP is this bridge currency that is going to support the new system. And your dad has prophesied about the system of not Eli the high priest, but going into a new system because Samuel is released from the earth. And he talked about these multiple times. He talked about that financial break in the system. And right when he said the financial break in the system, right after that, he talks about transitioning out of the system into the new system. Now, so many people have talked about this XRP as being a bridge for Ripple and for a lot of these currencies. And it seems that there's rumors that a lot of these other countries across the pond are going to be using it as well. I heard that Russia and a lot of these guys within the BRICS nations are potentially using it. So this would be pretty massive for XRP if this is the case, because this could turn into your Bitcoin type prices.
so interesting. Also because of the gold. Because remember now, how many times was he talking about gold? And
Yep.
we automatically relate it with Trump, but I think it means more than that. I think because Trump is representative of this time, as a leader, he represents. So the gold is an image you'll see with him, but then you see on the other side, you see the BRICS nations backing their currency with gold, stacking up on the gold. So the gold keeps coming up. And so I think it's worthy of note. And of course, I'm not going to tell anybody to invest, especially because I don't know anything about it. My husband's the one who knows. But I am aware of these. So that is the first thing I thought of was XRP.
Mhm.
Now, are they centralized or are they decentralized?
Like, so they're a
Yes.
US based company, but I'm trying to think of I'm not the person to ask a whole lot
Yeah,
about XRP.
me either.
Because I'm a big precious. We are big precious metal people.
Yes, I
Like we
know.
love gold and silver. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have any XRP, because there's just something that me and Chris talked about it one day, and we felt God was telling us, hey, let's do this. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I had the opportunity back in 2013 to get Bitcoin for nothing, and I said no.
Oh,
And so it's like, if this
I'm
if
sorry.
this is one of those things, I'm going to jump on board.
Well, you know what else? Did you notice? So the
Decentralized.
the debt clock on X has been giving like a lot of like cryptic messages on their page. Now, they recently just changed their username on X from US Debt Clock to Thomas X.
Hmm.
And if you look at the symbol, it is the symbol for XRP.
Interesting.
Oh,
If you go look at their the picture, it's now the image of the XRP, and they renamed it from US Debt Clock to Thomas X USA.
that's interesting.
And
too.
also XRP, I believe it in Q3. They just announced in Q3 they're going to offer a tokenized gold
Huh.
coin. Like a what's I'm trying to think of the word.
Well, I want to get some
token?
XRP now.
Token?
Yeah, it's like a gold, but it's
token.
going to be backed by gold.
Wow.
Okay.
And at the
Very
same time, you have the BRICS 150. They announced 59 countries are on board for the BRICS payment system, which will be, and everybody, it's a central bank digital currency that is backed by gold. Now, if you just do a central bank, what the government here wants to do, they just want to turn everything digital so they can enslave you.
Yeah.
It's different from having a central bank, a digital currency that is backed by gold. If you can go buy gold with that, to me, it's real money, because gold is real money. Everything else, gold and silver are real money. Everything else is fake in my book. But if you can use these tokenized assets, if you can use Bitcoin, if you can use XRP to go purchase gold, well, sign me up.
I agree 100%. It seems very foolish that they've gotten away with just printing money the way they have for so long over here. So, that's also something God's definitely going to deal with because it affects his people and, how we're going to survive. And God does seek for, God does wish us to be prosperous. He's, there's this idea of Christianity that, you're supposed to be in poverty, and there's always judgment about if someone in ministry has money. But if they didn't have that, you wouldn't hear from them. That's something that I always try to tell people is, we're not, for instance, the House of Destiny Network. It's actually difficult for us to keep doing this without my dad. And so we need support just to keep this going. But nobody here is abusing anything. And because that has happened in Christianity, it's unfortunate because it's given the enemy something to use against Christians. And so God does wish for us to be and needs us to be prosperous and in an upright way. People are always like, oh, money's the root of all evil. And it's like, no, actually, it says the love of money is the root of all evil. Human beings have to have a way of exchange and trade. And before it was backed by what it was. It was like, well, you've got some wheat and I've got milk. So I'll give you some of my milk and, you can have some wheat. And then it turned into something that you can use instead of carrying the milk around and carrying the wheat around. And so that has grown. And so having money and having a way to exchange and to trade is not evil. It's the greed and the love of it that is the root of the evil. I got into an argument with some idiot the other day. I don't know why I wasted my time, but I actually quoted the scripture to him, and I said, "You are misquoting scripture, number one. So you obviously don't read the Bible." But that is an unfortunate misconception amongst people who have not read the Bible. That it's and I bring that up because Dad, in one of the prophecies, he was speaking of Cain and Abel, and he was saying, in the end, this is all going to come down to greed. It's all about greed. And the more you look at it, the more that is what's happening. And so I say that because we're talking about investing and we're talking about finances. And, certainly I'm not able to give anybody any kind of financial advice at all because I am not qualified. But in these prophecies, you do have these things like, the Iraqi dinar is something people have done a lot of research. And I don't bring it up as often, but I have actually been going back and having a look at some of those dinar prophecies because Dad saw that too. And the thing about my dad that you should know is that he was not a finance person. My mother handled all of that, and he just went, and it was like, oh, we need some money. Okay, God help us. And we're praying over the gas tank. But he never thought about those things, and he was not good with money. I mean, if he had money, he was just giving it away to everybody, whether it was going to mess him up or not. And so it was my mom who always sort of kept him in line with that. So when he did see things about money and finance, it was definitely just coming out of a pure, from God through him, because he didn't have any understanding. He didn't follow it. He didn't understand it very well. but God definitely used him to show us some things that would be needed in this time. So I think everybody should just keep an eye on that XRP, as well as oak tree, because this is what he saw connected with the healing.
And somebody else just mentioned in the chat that just for fun, I guess, Elon in Hebrew means oak tree.
My husband told me that the other day.
Okay. Yeah. I
And
didn't know
Charlie
that.
Jordan. Charlie Jordan texted me too, and he was texting me. I'd sent him the prophecy as well when I saw it. And he also said the same thing. He said, Elon, does it mean oak or oak tree in Hebrew?
It says oak tree on my screen.
Now, the interesting thing about Elon Musk is he's South African, which my dad and all of us are South African. My dad's actual name was Kimball Clement, Kimball, one word, Kimball Clement, he was named after the piano company who made pianos. And which was very prophetic of my grandmother, of his mom, because he was, she didn't know he was going to play the piano like he did, but she gave him that name. And that is Elon Musk's brother's name, is Kimball. And so there's a lot of these little things that you can't quite put together, but they're there and you can't ignore them. And that's another one of these things where, and I really see God moving in Elon Musk. Dad saw Tesla and prophesied a bit about it years ago. I haven't been able to find the prophecies, but I'm still looking for them. Because he sent Sunil to the Tesla headquarters. I think it was San Francisco, and he was reporting in front of there. So Dad was seeing Elon Musk would be something, and what he was doing. And on the other side of it, we know his dealings with things that are concerning for us as Christians, like putting chips in our brains and that kind of thing. But I always say to people, if you're not a Christian and you don't understand all of that stuff, he wouldn't even notice it. If he wore something that, might have been with satanic symbols on it, he probably isn't even paying attention because it doesn't mean anything to him. And so I always pray for his salvation, because how awesome would it be if you had an Elon Musk with a mind like that, who was also understanding of the ways of God, but also Christianity and what it actually means. And so I've seen, the Babylon Bee interview where they asked him, and it keeps coming up. I think even with Jordan Peterson, he had an interesting conversation. And so I continue to pray for him, because he just keeps coming up in these prophecies in different ways. And here he is again. You see the oak tree and the healing. Now he is doing stuff to help people and to help, he's trying anyway, whether or not we like everything. I'm certainly not a fan of putting a chip in your brain. And all of us being a member, I mean, that's just asking for trouble. But at the same time, I don't think his motivation is evil. I think it's just misguided. And so, again, very, very interesting how we see that it can't be for no reason it's all tied together either. You got oak tree, you got the healing stuff, the energy stuff, and then the cryptocurrency stuff. And he saw stuff about cryptos before as well. He didn't know what to call it, but he was seeing it as he saw all these symbols, and they were there for the prosperity of God's people. But he didn't know how to. Now, if you look at the symbols, each cryptocurrency has its little symbol, and its little. And if he had been talking with the stock market, he would have said that. And so I think this was like 2013. He didn't know what a cryptocurrency was. I can tell you that. But he was seeing that. So, you have people who are concerned about it, but I see great potential for good with it. I mean, anything that exists can be used for good or evil. That's up to us. It's our choice. So it's like the internet. When the internet came out and everybody was like, oh, www means 666 and it's evil. Well, it has the potential to be evil, and it has been evil, but a lot of goods come from it, because look at us here today. I mean, how much church are we having online now? It's just invading everything. And so I don't think we should be afraid of things. And, we don't want to turn into the Amish and just separate from society and say, well, that's it. Although sometimes I wonder, because I spent some time with the Amish, and it was like as soon as the electricity came around, they're like, we're out. We're not participating anymore. And so maybe there's something to that, but it's still very interesting. So Lou, what do you have lined up here next? You have July 11th, 2014. Oh, the Enemies of America. Let's look at this one. I want to see this one again. You can play it.
Years from now is going to happen. This is the power of the prophetic. So I'm getting attacked. So what? There is going to be a change, an occupation in the White House where there will be once again restoration of wells that were dug by your forefathers. And I believe you're understanding what I'm saying. I'm not calling anybody bad, but I tell you what, we need some changes. And God wants those changes as well. And I want you to know that He is preparing it. And those wells which were yours by inheritance, but today you don't have access to them because someone else has occupied them, someone else's mind, someone else's politics, someone else's control has taken occupation of those wells. And because they've done that, we don't have the freedom anymore. We don't have the wealth anymore. And I want you to know that God wants that to change so that those wells which were dug by your forefathers can once again be yours, and America once again shall be great. Come on, come on.
I don't know why the videos keeps there's every time we play a video since Friday, there's like once in a while they skip it a little bit. But that was so great. I miss him. The music always just
Yeah.
made it all the more real. You know, he could have just said
Mhm.
those things, but because he was a musician and because he was how he was, um,
Yeah.
it
I love
always
that.
it always helps. But people were bringing up the decentralization part of it. So that's the important part when you talk about just to go back to the cryptocurrency thing, because I read that is yes, the decentralization is better for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Anything centralized, especially by the government, means they're going to control it absolutely and completely, and through that they're going to control you. So we like decentralized, and we like the potential of, for instance, the Ethereum blockchain, which has functions to do things. For instance, you could run an election on Ethereum blockchain, and that would be undisputable. Instead, they keep clinging to Dominion voting machines, and it's a little bit obvious that why would you do that? If there was that many questions about Dominion voting, then why would the American government not say, you know what, this is causing too much trouble with the people. Let's go back to just paper ballots, or let's try something else. And they don't, which is very telling to me. So what are your thoughts so far? Because I feel like I've been talking too much. As usual.
You're good. You're good. You're good. No, I like that particular prophecy. I love that one because he's talking about bringing things back to basically restoring things how they were intended to be. But we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what that looks like ever since, you can go all the way back to, the early 1800s or even 1871 when they changed everything into a corporation. They hijacked everything. We've never really known, and we've talked about, going back to stuff like 60s prices and stuff like that. But even then, I think that's still underdoing it of what God wants. I mean, even if you just bring a new energy forth, free energy, that changes everything. That changes everything. But what I love about that prophecy right at the end, he says, "And we shall then make America great."
Yes.
And obviously, you guys all know that's what Trump runs on, So it's and in the beginning, he says 10 years from now. He talks about we want to see what prophecy looks like 10 years from now. I mean, that prophecy was almost exactly 10 years ago.
Yes,
So-
and that is a huge theme I keep seeing. I didn't notice it before, but in the past few years, I've seen there's a 10-year marker. Because if you just look at things he prophesied in 2014, you just go through just 2014, there is so much there for 2024. I mean, even February 22nd of 2014 was the biggest, I would say, one of the biggest prophecies of that year ever of my dad's life. Everything he prophesied, because there was so much in that day. But it was also, again, it was 10 years ago. We Know Nothing and him prophesying about the Malaysian jet, that was 2014 in March, 10 years ago. His prophesying about Ukraine and Russia, 10 years ago, 2014. So 2014 has been a big year especially here at the House of Destiny, because I've recognized this 10-year thing, and then it keeps showing up. And I first realized it because he prophesied Trump would be a trumpet in 2007, and Trump became president in 2017. So those things should not be overlooked. I always tell people it's not always just what he prophesied, but where was he? When was it happening? What was his demeanor? That was a big deal with him because he was a person who did not hide how he felt. So it was very obvious how he felt about things. And if he was prophesying something, he was feeling what God was showing him and what God was feeling. God was allowing him to feel it, see it, and speak it out. And that's just the way it worked with Dad. And so again, it's just interesting to me that it's the 10 years. It's not always 10 years, but that's definitely been a theme and not to be ignored, I would say. Also, though, if you think about what you were just saying, great change. He kept speaking about a changing of the guard,
Mhm.
about things being exposed. The UN, God would abolish it. God says, I will abolish it. So, and he even mentioned I wish I had that prophecy right now. He even mentioned the refugees, and he said, I'll take care of the refugees. I'll take care of them. God says, I'm going to take care of the refugees, but I'm abolishing the UN because they're a stench to my nostrils. And it was in that same prophecy that he prophesied about France and the disgusting thing that they would do. And then, of course, we saw that also, was that in July too? It was. So
The
this
Iran one.
July. Then we're going to have Falls in Fall and
Mm-hmm.
Hypnotic November. I better make a t-shirt. I made a
Yep.
Falls in Fall t-shirt. Just in my Teespring, just because I want t-shirts. So I make them for myself and then I just share it with everybody else if they want one. But it is pretty cool to have the Strange July t-shirt. So I've got to do a Hypnotic November now because Hypnotic is also a little like, what do you mean hypnotic?
Oh,
I hope it's
well,
good.
that was an interesting one because when he talks about the actual hypnotic November vision, that's not in the seasonal prophecy. Like when he just explains what's coming and this spiritual tidal wave that's
Mm.
going to lift the people up, and basically, he's talking about how a lot of people are going to be afraid in this time period. And that's what's so nice to have the prophetic, is to know what you look like in the future.
Yes.
So it gives you that sense of comfort because we know that a lot of this stuff has to come down, and the enemy, that their claws come out when they're being pushed into a corner, which they are right now, and they don't really know what's going on. They're expending their ammunition, and they're freaking out. So like I said, the next 3 months, especially going to Hypnotic November, he said that there's going to be this point where he's going to basically pull these people out of their slumber, and there's going to be this wave that's going to keep the body above of the chaos. So people talk about, oh, it's going to be scary and all that stuff, but I believe as long as you're relying on God and actually putting in the effort to walk with him and make sure that he is your front and center, that he is going to protect you through all of this. And I think that's such an important thing for the body to understand, especially those that are seeking hope and seeking, some type of security, is just knowing you have security in Jesus and knowing that no matter what we go through, that we're going to be the light in the darkness, in the midst of the chaos. Embrace the chaos, but be the light with him. Bring him with you, because there's nothing that can take you down if you got him there with you.
Mm.
We go through our trials and tribulations and everything like that, but at the end of the day, we're all still here, right? We're all still here. And it's going to be a trying time. It's going to be a trying time, especially Hypnotic November. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little excited.
I know I am
Mhm.
too. I am too. I'm glad you said that because that's so true. Like you said, it's just it seems scary, but it's also exciting because change is scary and exciting, and we as human beings, we resist it. But it's not a bad thing. And there's always the potential for evil. No matter whatever happens in this world, there's always going to be the potential for people to use it for evil. But as long as we're trying to use it for good and we're following what God has told us and how he is directing us, he's never, ever going to fail us. And that is very helpful. That is, especially for me. See, the advantage I have is that I have all these prophecies. And that's why I share it with everybody, because I know I'm seeing people worrying, and I'm hearing from my own family, people who maybe forgotten what he prophesied or however it's helping. And so that's something that I'm very grateful to be able to present this to people and say, okay, I know it's crazy, but look, this is crazy too, but look, because number one, God exists. And that's something that's a big part of things too. I think, my dad, I'm trying to remember when it was. It was August of 2015. And, he was prophesying about that in particular. And so anyway, we have our eruption. Are we going to play the eruptions video, Lou? I kind of want to look at that one. Let's do that one. Okay. He's saying yes. Okay. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Go.
A national park where there is an eruption under the earth, for it to come out, and many say it is just simply an eruption, but it is not. It is a sign that I shall contain that which would try and be destructive in this nation. A volcano as a sign.
Just keep moving. Unless there's big holes, follow that guy in the St. Louis City church.
Okay, you can cut it there. You don't have to play the whole. You can cut it, Lou. Okay, thanks. Well, it's just video of them looking at that. But so God would contain that which would be destructive in this nation. This is the sign. So God's telling us that which has the potential to be destructive is going to be contained. And I think that's interesting too, because what have we been talking about today? We're talking about cryptocurrencies. This is a new thing. We're looking at the change in politics and the way, not only the way it goes, but I think the way we as the people deal with it. A lot of the waking up has been, we actually need to pay attention to who we're voting for. This actually matters all the way down from the bottom up. I mean, who's in your school board? That's important. And I know that's not something you just kind of vote down ballot. And, if I vote Republican, it's okay. And God showed us, well, actually, it's not. The corruption is extended to both sides. And this is something that's been going on for a long time, since after World War II. And something Dad prophesied about the Fourth Reich. He sent me to Europe. He sent me in 2012, which on that trip, I found out I was pregnant for the first time. And I'll never forget that phone call to him. He was so happy because I gave him his first grandchild too. I'm the firstborn. So that was there was birth and new life happening as he sent me on that trip. And I went to Rome. I went to England. I went to the Netherlands, to Paris. He sent me to all these places, and I was reporting for him. I had my little Kim.TV microphone, and my husband was filming me, and we were sending over segments for him to play for people on the broadcast. And one of the most important places I went to was in Poland, to Auschwitz. And I had an extreme emotional reaction being there, because I had just found out I was pregnant, and I was looking at the children's shoes. And it was this huge pile of shoes, and I'm hearing all these things that happened, and I became so emotional that I was feeling suffocated by just being in the room, and I had to leave. And we had a guide with us, and I said, just get me out of here. And as I was leaving, I was weeping, and a BBC reporter, I didn't know he was a BBC reporter, a man with a camera is walking past me, and he goes, "Why are you crying?" with a British accent. And I said, "Well, I'm just overwhelmed. And I tried to keep moving. And he said, well, would you talk to us? And I said, no, I'm crying. I don't feel like being on camera right now. He said, but we have a survivor. And I looked over and it was this little old lady. She reminded me of my grandmother. She was very short, very small. Her name was Kitty. I don't know if she's still alive, but I sat and talked to her for a long time. I said, okay, fine. Some of this is on, you can find it on YouTube, that interview with me all those years ago. And she warned me about that it could happen again. And I remember listening to her and thinking, gosh, we're standing in the museum. Like she's probably traumatized from what happened to her. And she's saying these things, out of that trauma. And of course, this could never happen again. Even the BBC reporter said, how? We're standing in the museum. That could never happen again. But you see how it's taken on a new form in the world. It isn't Nazi soldiers, but it is the spirit of that Fourth Reich. And what we've seen is the emergence of it in Islam, which is what she warned me. She was naming Middle Eastern countries. I can't remember which ones she named now. It was so long ago. But I know Syria was there, but she was warning me, the survivor. I mean, she was old lady. Yeah, Kitty Strumming. Her name's Kitty. I forget her last name. And to me, that's a very important, as far as spiritually, thing to look at, because it was never. I was just watching Glenn Beck interviewed a lady just this weekend on his podcast who was talking about nuclear war, and she was going into what happened with the
Annie Jacobson.
Nazis. I don't remember her name. I just watched it probably, but it was. If anybody hasn't watched, you should watch this, because he interviewed her and she was explaining like how things would go if nuclear war happened, like how things happen and what would happen and what's wrong right now. But it just her perspective on that was very, very interesting, and she explained about what happened with the Nazi soldiers that should have been hung, that we brought in, especially into the CIA. And then it was after that we had the assassination of JFK. You had what happened to Nixon, which is coming out now, that the CIA was involved with Watergate, and they were actually taking him down. He was a very popular president. And if you ever talk to Roger Stone, for instance, he will explain this to you about. That's why he puts up the two fingers like that and he holds them up, and he has Nixon tattooed on his back, is because I get weird about it because I think, well, didn't Nixon take us off the gold standard? Like that wasn't good. Uh, but I don't think that's what really matters. I think there's a much deeper spiritual element to this.
He was totally used.
Yeah.
I think somebody was twisting.
I mean, Henry Kissinger was
yeah.
a big part of that.
Kissinger's
along
a
with,
big problem.
Yes.
He died, didn't he? Finally,
yeah, I think so,
he
right?
lived like 100 years.
He's like 100 something.
Yeah, and he was the one who helped Klaus Schwab start the World Economic Forum in the early 70s. So if you look at the early 70s, what was happening then? That happened. My dad got saved the same year, which is so interesting to me because it's almost like they got that ball rolling over there, Kissinger and Klaus Schwab, and God said, I don't think so. And he pulled my dad up out of the street and gave him miraculous salvation. His deliverance experience was incredible, and he became this huge prophetic voice in this time. And so, again, timing is so important. And then, of course, JFK. Someone is saying that in the chat. JFK, his assassination, and how that has affected Americans as well.
Well, yeah, society has gone downhill since the 60s, since that assassination. And remember, Reagan tried to stand up to the establishment, and they tried to take him out too.
Yeah, that was a pivotal point. Like it was like you can either go this direction or this direction during the 60s, and they made everybody go the wrong direction because of that assassination attempt. So just like Chris said, that's when everything started going downhill.
Yes,
and here we are again at that same moment in history, except this time
they missed.
They missed.
Because God intervened.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
And
God intervened in a way that is undeniable, because even Trump himself is saying, God saved me. I moved my head. If I hadn't moved my head, he would have blown my head off. Yeah. And so that is, and I look back at the what Dad prophesied about him being filled with the Spirit, and the way he hit the ground like that with the blood and his shoes getting knocked off. and he came jumping up and shouting. Now, if you remember, Dad prophesied, and he'll be shouting by the power of the Spirit. And so I believe, and I don't think that's the complete fulfillment of that prophecy, but I do believe that that was the spark that Dad was seeing happen, that he would be a praying president. When he started, he'd go in whispering my name, but in the end, he'd be shouting by the power of the Spirit. And so, there's these events happening, and there's so much to it. There's all these layers to it, and God. I'm grateful for God for making it that way, because it makes life more interesting. It makes things more interesting. It makes the journey more full. But definitely, I think, because Dad saw the exposure of the intelligence agencies in particular, and my dad worked with the intelligence agencies himself under George Bush. He didn't really like doing it, and he liked being able to help, because he couldn't tell us anything, but he did tell us that he was able to help find lost children a few times.
Yeah.
That God showed that to him, and he was really happy. My dad loved kids, and he was all about family, and so anything like that, he would have been quite keen to help them. But he said they were very. I know one thing he could tell us is he was very vague, or they were very vague to him. They would just sort of ask him a question, and then he would answer, but he didn't really get to know too much about what was going on. But I've since found that the project he was involved with was called Stargate, and Stargate was a CIA thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder, the FBI may have been talking to my dad, but the FBI and the CIA, they're buddies, and so I just wonder what happened during that time. They definitely knew my dad had a gift.
I've always wondered about that because I've done a lot of research on Stargate, and now I just had it in the back of my head. Like, I wonder how much your dad knew, because of if you go into the Stargate operations, even if you look into the CIA records, the stuff they seen during Mount Hayes when they were doing remote viewing and stuff like that. So, remote viewing was the operation of psychics. Now, I understand this is different, but that's what Stargate basically operated under, was what they were doing. You could say telepathically or whatever. But they were seeing stuff all over the place, inside mountains, military bases that aren't on the board, aren't on the map. And just all the stuff that's coming out of Alaska up by Mount Hayes, and all the dark, I mean, this stuff goes
I don't know
pretty
anything
deep
about
and wild.
that. What is it, Mount Hayes? I don't know anything
Mount
about
Hayes. So Mount Hayes it's a military base in a mountain, right? In Alaska. And one of the remote viewers, I think one of the first remote viewers in Project Stargate, saw that there were, this is in the CIA records. So I'm just saying it, okay? Nobody come after me.
Okay.
In the CIA records, it says that they have recordings of what people seen, and it was basically, you'd say, people say alien type, but I want to say basically reptilian stuff along those lines, of U.S. intelligence agencies in bed with demonic forces.
That is very interesting.
And this was in Stargate. This is you guys can go look up the CIA records and look it for yourself. But there's not a whole lot after that. Yeah.
How do you look up CIA records? Oh, you've got to
go to the website.
Okay. I've never done that.
So you could just type you could do an easy Google search on Mount Hayes in the CIA records. You could probably find it in the first 4 or 5 links. Once you click it, yeah, it's just there. But people don't want to talk about it because it's so wild and out there. But I am a firm believer in this.
My dad was involved in that. But
so it makes me wonder what he's seen.
He didn't know, they weren't telling him stuff. You're saying it's remote viewing. Well, they would have viewed his gift as being like a psychic, I'm sure.
That's right.
Because they weren't, obviously, we're Christians. We understand the difference between the prophetic and the psychic. I doubt the people running that were even worried about that. They probably just didn't believe that. That's very interesting. Now, the thing is, my dad didn't like it. Like I said, he liked helping, for instance, with lost children and things that were helpful that way. But in the end, And we even have him on the broadcasts, live on the broadcasts, talking. It wasn't a secret. And he was saying he didn't like it. And he was sort of getting annoyed. They had him with an encrypted email address, and sometimes they would call on the phone, but it wasn't like on a regular cell phone, and he'd have to talk to them. And in the end, he said he kept asking them if he could stop. And he kept
Mm.
saying, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And he said they would just completely ignore him and just send him the next question or send him the next thing. And in the end, he didn't like it. That I can tell you. He was ready to stop. And so when Obama became president, he ended that.
Mm.
And Dad was relieved. He was just happy to not even have to do it anymore. So I know he didn't. And he never told us why. He couldn't. He wasn't allowed to tell us much at all. But I know he wasn't happy, and he said that on the broadcast. He said, "I keep telling them I don't want to do this anymore, and they just ignore me." And so it would be very interesting for me to look that up and
Yeah,
to,
and
maybe sit with
for the
my
record,
mom.
for the record, everybody, I don't believe in aliens. I believe in the
No.
demonic. I
Yes.
believe in like the spiritual realm, and that's what I'm talking about. I don't believe in. I think a lot of the things we see in the sky, I think are actually our own U.S. government. I've done a lot of research. We've done a lot of research on this. Obviously, I'm not going to do it on this show. We have talked about it on our show, but no, I'm not. For those that I just use the word alien just because it's an overall. That's just what
Yeah,
the CIA records say.
definitely. We don't. I'm with you. I don't believe in the traditional idea of aliens as being, they came from another planet and they're.
Right.
No, I do believe that there's something interdimensionally probably going on.
Yes.
If you look
Yes.
at like the story of Nimrod, for instance, I don't think that he was just building a tall tower. I think that there was some kind of a
Portal.
portal. And we're seeing so much of that now that it's not impossible. Like if you try to talk to people about that, this 20 or so years ago, it would have been like, what do you, that's nuts. But now that we've seen CERN and we've seen those kind of things have become more public and we're learning more, I believe that there's something. I don't think that there's nothing, but I do believe that it is, like you said, it's demonic, but I think it's a little more than that. I think it's, when you talk about interdimensional, gosh, Dad, how many times we prophesied about the veil being rent, and that veil he's talking about is the veil of our reality, and so things are being exposed as he prophesied, but God is also revealing things to us that we need to understand. Fallen angels, someone is saying in the comments. Yes, fallen angels and watchers. And the watchers, I'm sure you know this, Israel. A watcher is not an angel. It's not the same thing. It's a different thing. And it's not the same as a demon either. A demon, like the watchers had bodies. Demons, it's a different thing. So, well, that's just the way I look at it anyway. So, understanding that, I think, is important for us. Jesus said, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the Son of Man returns. You have a lot of people that look at the times we're in as being the end times. Dad even would say, it's not the end of time yet, but we're in the end time. So
Right.
It is important that we recognize the time we're in without becoming like date setters and like 88 reasons why Jesus is coming back in 88 and all those people put down their pets and stole them. We're not doing that. But we are recognizing the time we're in, and we can understand that as we watch Israel and what happens with Israel.
Right. And I do believe that we're going to, God is lifting the veil on a lot of stuff. I mean, you see like even narratives coming out, especially through the mainstream media, how they come out and say that watch out for this new disease that makes you see demon faces, stuff like that. Like, it's like, you don't go to the hospital. If you see someone that looks demonic, you're okay. You're okay. You may be seeing something that you haven't been used to. God is lifting the veil on a lot.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start to see more and more of the supernatural in terms of entities and stuff like this. We've talked about on our show how, even in the last 6 months, I've had stuff revealed to me that God was showing me that I've had following me since I was a little child. And I don't know if anybody's seen like the movie Nefarious, where I think they did a good job of how the demonic, they sit there and watch you. They write your habits. They watch your predictability. They learn you because they're not all knowing, and they want to see how you react, what you fall into, and how to keep going back to keep you in their cycle of brokenness. And that's what they do. But at the same time, I know people are going to be like Project Bluebeam or something like that. I think there is that, but don't be surprised if there is actually real supernatural things that are revealed because God's saying it's time to expose.
Yes, that's absolutely, we're on the same page with that. And again, like, don't be afraid of the demonic, anybody either. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of it. But I mean, I grew up and my dad was like the biggest spiritual warrior. I mean, the things that had happened, and he was just not, it was nothing to him. I remember his brother had been around he had an office off of his prayer garden, and his younger brother David was in there doing some stuff, and things, I don't remember what exactly happened, but a few things happened and someone's nose started bleeding and they saw something, and they went running to tell my dad, and my dad wasn't even worried. It was like, oh, that happens all the time. Don't even worry about it. Just pray, it'll be fine. And it was like he wasn't afraid of it at all. And neither am I, because of the, growing up, we did witness insane, scary. It would seem scary when you're a kid. It's scary. Now that I'm grown up and now that I'm older, I'm more experienced. I understand how to deal with it. People are saying rebuke it, and let me tell you, that'll work immediately. It's like gnats, just buzzing, and sometimes it can appear more scary. But like you said, they don't know. They're not all knowing, so they are going to push and poke at you to try, especially if you are doing something in the kingdom. If you are doing something, and if you're walking the line God needs you to be walking, and you're effective, you're going to be attacked. And that's something that I saw, and I'm talking about spiritually and demonically, and it can manifest physically. I mean, my dad prophesied the death of Anton LaVey, for instance, and it was 1 year to the day later that Anton LaVey died, and we had Satanists, I mean, cursing us. I was a child, and we were staying in a hotel. We were traveling with Dad. He was ministering, and we had gone with him, and we were staying in a hotel. And the one night we come back, he'd done the meeting, and we had dinner, and then we went back to the hotel. And in his room were photographs of us earlier that day, us kids, his children, going from hotel room to hotel room in that very hotel, and they left those pictures on his bed
Wow.
for him to find. So we were threatened a lot, and so we've sort of got a tough skin to that. But people who aren't used to it, don't let that the demonic stuff frighten you at all, because you have the power through Christ to overcome that easily. It's nothing.
Oh yeah. They're
Easy,
terrified of the name of Jesus and the blood.
easy to get rid of them. As long as you know, and that's why it's so important to know the word, to have that relationship with God, to always be coming before him and asking him to help. And he definitely will. And he will open the doors that you need opened, and he will guide you if that is what you seek. And everything is our choice. And that's what true freedom is. God is the one who has granted up us absolute true freedom. Complete and absolute freedom compared to the government and what their definition of that is. You get your freedom from God and no one else. And so in that freedom, you can choose. And so we encourage you today to choose him and to choose the path that he has set before you, because every single person watching right now, you have a destiny. You are not here for no reason. This is not a mistake. Anybody who might be feeling that right now, that you feel like, oh, who am I? I'm not. You're not nothing. Something God showed me was, if you look at a car engine, every little part. My grandfather used to work on cars, and I was a little kid. I used to watch him. Every single piece that constructs an engine, that makes it go, is important. If one tiny little thing doesn't work, the whole thing ain't going to work. So if you think, oh, my little role is so small, and it makes a difference, because you following through and fulfilling that destiny is going to keep that machine running. And so maybe some people are bigger and louder, like Trump, and you feel like that's more important. It's not. We're all important, and God has a destiny for every single one of us. And every single one of you watching right now, you're here watching this. God sent you here to listen to us today for a reason. And so now you've seen these prophecies, and maybe you hear some more. And when you see them come to pass, your faith will grow, and you'll see that God does exist. As much as we've been lied to through all of our lives, and especially us in the time we live in this age of evolution and secular humanism and really the mockery of the idea of God. That doesn't mean that it's not true. It's just the time we live in. And so a lot of people, especially, I know growing up, it was so difficult to even explain to people what my dad did or what we were about, because so many people were against the idea of God even existing. And so when you enter an experience like this and your perspective is changed, you realize not only his existence, but his involvement and how beautiful and exciting this life actually is. And
It's
I just want to
yeah, it's
encourage, I
really
just felt to encourage everybody with
it's
that
really
today.
good. And I just to go off that a little bit, I use the engine, and that's what I've been feeling for a lot heading into this new season, especially into the fall. Like, we are in such a good position. You are in a good position if you're feeling rejected, if you're feeling troubled, if you're feeling down. Trust me, the demonic warfare, the spiritual warfare is so high right now. And you are doing so much better than you realize you are. If you're feeling these things, the enemy's coming after you because you're a threat. You're a threat, and he's going to try and pull you away. He's going to try to do everything he possibly can. But we're heading into this new season, and it's so important. I feel like God's been saying for a while, but just like it's so strong right now. It is now time to focus on the how the body is about to operate, because there's going to be a lot of people asking a lot of questions really soon, and we need to be ready for those people, and to not only take those people in, but to be ready as the body. Because if you use the engine, I use the car. If you're driving a car, you got to know how it works. And so if we're having that supernatural walk, if we're trying to understand of how God wants us to walk with him, especially walking into this new season, if you drive a car, you need to know how to use the gas pedal, the brake pedal, the blinkers, all that stuff. If you can't operate the car properly, you're probably going to get into an accident along the way. It's the same thing with your supernatural walk as we step into this new season. If we're not operating how God wants us to and move into this, we're going to have more trouble along the way if we don't fully just doing our best to strive and be everything he wants us to be. Because the spiritual warfare is so high. It's so high, and it's better to just, me and Chris talk about it. Operation risk management, like everything we do now is look at the outcomes of how this could affect this and how this could affect this if we make this decision or this decision. Everything is looking in different ways of how God wants us to operate. And I think that's just so what God wants us all to do, especially going into November and even after November. Because a lot of people are going to be asking people for help. And the one thing was quality, not quantity. All about quality of how you're handling it. I don't care if you have 1 million followers or one.
Right.
It's all about how you're handling that one follower,
Yes.
So.
No, I'm so glad you said that, because that's just right on. It is, a lot of people who don't know a lot about, for instance, spiritual warfare, entering into probably the thickest, heaviest kind of spiritual warfare we've seen in our lifetimes. So again, it's okay. You'll be fine. And you know what? In our unity and together is how we overcome this. And that's something that, God designed things that way. So anyway, we're actually over time now. So we better go. And we lost Chris. Where did he go?
He lost power, by the way.
Oh no. Is it a storm?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Okay.
Sometimes he lives in the boonies. Sometimes they just cut power.
Oh, okay. Well, I understand that. They do the same thing in South Africa. You'll have half a day where nobody has any electricity. But thank you so much for joining me. And do
Thank you
tell
for
Chris,
having us.
it's just always an honor to have you on. And of course, you need to come back, because
Absolutely.
we're in the
You
middle
come
of
on
the
our show.
story here. But yes, again, everybody, if you want to find Israel and Chris and the Alpha Vets, their website is below me right now. And they have their Rumble channel too. That's where I watch you guys, is on the Rumble channel. And you are also very active on X, that platform. And that's where I follow you guys. And, that's always fun, reposting
Absolutely.
you guys and laughing at it. And, and that's a good thing. That's the other thing is everybody, allow yourself to relax once in a while and have a laugh, because a lot of this is funny too. There's some funny things that have
Gotta
been
laugh.
going on, and we need that to get through as well. So thank you so much for joining me. We will be, I'm going to have you guys come back again before November.
Absolutely.
Before
Absolutely.
November.
Yeah.
So again, thanks for joining me, and everybody else watching right now, Rumble, YouTube, House of Destiny, and on X. We're streaming in all those places right now. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you did want to contribute to this broadcast and to our network, which is Kim Clements House of Destiny Network, if God has put it on your heart to support us, any amount, absolutely any amount, you can text. You see right there. You can text Code Breakers to 43965 with any amount. Now, I have used this feature not on here, but with giving to another ministry, and I really enjoy doing it that way. It's so easy. But you can also go to the website, which is houseofdestiny.org or kimclement.com. Either way, it's going to take you there. And if you do give an offering, especially on the website, you have to click the banner. But we have this. And we have this. Wait, I'm going the wrong way. This. Okay, so this is a 31-day devotional called Daily Lights. My dad wrote every word of it. He used to write us emails every morning, and it went to all us kids and everyone in the family, everyone who worked for the ministry, and then other ministries. So he had a mass amount of people he'd send this to, and he just would write these encouraging, prophetic little nuggets. And so what we did was we gathered them up and we put them into a devotional because Dad loved devotionals. So if you give an offering of absolutely any amount today, if it's only $1, that's fine. Make sure you click the link. You can follow the QR code. If you don't like QR codes, go to the website, but make sure you click the banner so we know to send it to you, because otherwise we won't know. And then also, same deal, but it's with this. This is our new release this year, collection of letters from my dad. And let me tell you something. He was so prophetic. He was an incredible prodigy musician, but he was also a great writer. And he really had a beautiful way of articulating the things that God showed him and the lessons that he learned in his life. And I would love for you to have this. So if you give an offering of $25 or more, we'll be able to send you that. But make sure you use the QR code or go to the website. Also, we are so excited because we're about to launch our new partnership program. Now, this has been very long in the making because Mom and I, when Dad first passed away, we didn't really know how do we handle this, and will we keep the ministry going or not? And there were so many prophecies that we decided we would keep it going, and we had our partnership programs, but we more recently realized that some of them were a little outdated. And so we needed to do something new. And something that was on my heart was to really gather together all of the prophecies, have them recorded, have them in a place that anybody can go and look up whatever you want to look up. But also it's sealed there in time as this thing that happened, this prophetic person, this prophet who was had such a key role in what is happening with America and with the West and with God's people. And he really has, those prophecies have been such a help to me and to countless other people. And so we are working very hard on, now we've already redone the website and we've made a special place. So anybody who partners with us is going to be able to go into the Prophecy Vault, where we have upgraded the prophecy database, which right now you can go to the website or the app and you can search, do keyword searches. We have everything transcribed. We've made it really nice. We've added video features and all kinds of other stuff to the partner program. We have extra content for you. And so it is not yet released, but I'm just letting people know because I am so excited. This was sort of my, not just me alone, but I had a lot to do with designing it and figuring out what to do with it. And it really is something we're proud of. And so this is not out yet, but it's coming. And so I just wanted to let you guys know first. And some of the graphics that have been put together, we have a very talented person helping us with that. And she's actually Christy Desfontaine's cousin. And she is so anointed and talented. And she has made it look really beautiful. So I'm so excited. I haven't even seen everything myself. But this is coming soon. So keep looking at, and I'm going to keep you guys updated. But I just wanted you to know because I'm so excited. So anyway, I've got, it's been a crazy couple of months, really. We did the Strange July. Christy and I have been doing Saturdays instead of Mom doing current events. So if you're wondering where Mom is, Mom's fine. She took a break because she knew how important these prophecies are. And in this time leading up to the election, she really wanted us to focus on these prophecies and just bring to you everything as it's going. And so we must, yes, it's I can't say your name, but you're talking about praying for the DNC. We are praying for everybody who is going to the DNC convention. We're not 100% sure if this is what Dad prophesied, but there's a lot there that points to that it was. And so, he saw Hyatt Regency in Chicago, and he saw an attack. So we're praying against that attack because we don't want anybody to be harmed, even if they're Democrats. We want them to get saved. We want them to wake up. We don't want anyone hurt. And so we are praying for them tomorrow. Everybody, please pray for them. Be praying for them tomorrow. And hopefully this has been thwarted. And hopefully we're wrong. For once, I'm saying, I hope we're wrong. So, but who knows? And, we saw that July would be strange July, thanks to the prophecies. And it certainly was. And so this journey is tumultuous, but we are going to make it through together. So I thank you so much for joining us. Don't miss any of the programming at the House of Destiny Network this week. I've got Prophetic Rewind for you tomorrow. I think I'm actually going to put up this one with X in it. And so we have that for you tomorrow. I'm not sure, though, so don't hold me to that because I'm still going to put that together when I go home. But that's at Kim.tv. Tuesday, we have Real Life, Real Faith. Wednesdays, we got Church with Fa. Thursdays, every other Thursday, we've got Charlie Jordan does Prophetic Perspectives or Perspectives of the Prophetic. And Fridays, Israel Update. Do not miss Israel Update because, as you know, this last week, we actually went live and we combined Codebreakers Analysis with Israel Update and had Dubi Sabo join us live. So make sure you have the notifications on and that you're paying attention if you follow us on social media for when we go live, because we have been going live at unusual times and I don't want you to miss anything. And then, of course, Saturday, me and Christy are digging back into those prophecies and that's going to be very interesting to see. And then, of course, I'll be back here with you on Sunday. And so have a good week. Pray about the DNC. And we'll get there. See you next week.
Excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
Of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you. And then by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing